we're going to go ahead and get started to make the best use of everyone's time. We've got a lot to get through today, which is wonderful. So thank you for joining us ahead of your exciting fall season. My name is Danya. I'm the content manager at GotPhoto. I'm going to be your host today, or your MC, I should say. Certainly not a host in this case, but we're going to be going through lots of stuff just to make sure that you get your season started off right and have the best fall you've ever had. So we've got a great lineup today. We've got 4 expert hosts here to help you out to answer your questions. We've got Nicole Brown, who's the head of customer care, Sam Bowman, who's the customer care coordinator, Jayla Ellis, our customer success manager, and Terry Bowling, also a customer success manager. They are names that you probably already know and love, so welcome to them. And then we also have 2 wonderful chat moderators. So Lauren Oberlin-Dalpra and Bob Kenward have joined us. They are here to serve as kind of the experts, the on the ground. They know what works, what doesn't, and they're going to help answer questions in the chat. So with that, on the housekeeping front, we do generally ask that you put questions and answers in that Q&A module. Because we're doing this a little differently this time and we're all learning together, feel free to put, simpler questions or questions you want Bob and Lauren's input in the chat. Put questions you'd like for us to answer live in front of the group into the Q&A module. We're going to do our best to keep everything organized and make sure we answer all of your questions. And then one last bit of housekeeping before I pass it over. You will be getting a link to this recording next week. So because this is a several part, we had our live demo on Tuesday, and then we have part 2 of the season starter webinar series tomorrow. We will have an email with all 3 recordings, all of the resources, everything that you need coming next week. And if you missed or didn't register for Tuesdays, don't worry, you'll still get that email. And we're really excited that everyone is here. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'll pass it over to Nicole.
Hi, everyone. I've been with GotPhoto for a year and a half, and I lead the customer operations team, which includes the amazing customer care team, and more recently, our knowledge and enablement teams. So we're going to start with a foundational topic of job type and access codes, and then you will hear from our other lovely host on some deeper topics. So here we go. On the settings tab, which you see here on the screen, is where you get to choose which type of job you want to create. And you'll see that there are 3 different options. This is going to determine how your customers are going to get their photos and how your photos are going to be organized. So choosing the best scenario for you is really important. Let's go over each one. You can go to the next slide. Perfect. First up is for the job type, where you have 1 access code for each person. We're going to spend the most time on this one because there's many options to consider. This choice gives the highest level of privacy for your subjects. Buyers are only going to be able to see photos that are tied to their access code. This is most commonly used for school pictures, for sports, and for dance shoots. And then within this access code selection, you can decide how you want to tag your photos. I'm going to go over 4 different options while we stay on this page. So first up is QR tagging. This is where you generate QR codes with no pre-assigned subject data. So you can use the QR code for anyone at Picture Day. You print them out ahead of time. And this will require pretty good notes on your part and organization at Picture Day, so you have clean tagging later on. You might use this option if you weren't able to get subject data upfront. The second option is QR tagging with a names list. So this is a great option if you are provided with subject data upfront. Details in the names list are critical for you to be able to sort and communicate with your customers and more. This setting is used for more advanced workflows like end tag and spot my photos too. These are really great tagging methods and are more advanced. There's great resources on this in our help center. Sam's also going to go deeper into the name list shortly. There's also tagging via registration for Picture Day. So that's really great for gathering information that cannot be provided by the organization. So you can send out a single registration code to your point of contact and have them share it with the buyers so that they can visit your shop and enter their information, and then you can still communicate with them. And then last but not least is manual tagging. You can use this with any of the options that I already went over. And it's really good in a pinch. So if you have a few photos that you have to move over, you can use a manual tagging option. Metadata tagging is also available in the setting, which is perfect if you want to import external jobs into our system. All right, so that is when you have one access code for each person. And if we go to the next slide, this is single access code jobs. So for this type of job, you will provide one access code to the organization, which will be shared with all potential buyers. So this is a really great option for things like school dances, media days, various competitions, and organization-wide events. So privacy is not a major concern, but the gallery should be restricted to only those that receive the code. You could also have a names list with this option so you can communicate with all of your customers directly. And next slide. Thank you. Last up is public jobs. So for this type of job, there is no access code at all. This is great for large public events that might not be tied to a specific organization. Customers can access this gallery via your GotPhoto domain link. And here, downloads are a great product to offer so that you don't have to worry about shipping to various locations. And that is my section. Thanks, everyone.
All right, thanks, Nicole. I think we'll roll right into the next section, which is all about names lists. I have the feeling that a lot of questions are going to connect to both of these. So take it away, Sam.
Thank you so much, Danya. I appreciate you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to join us today. As stated, I am Sam. I'm one of our customer care coordinators in the customer care team. Happy to see all of you here, and I'm very happy to be talking about one of my favorite subjects, which is the names list, the driving force of your job. This is an important topic. I expect questions. If you do have questions that you want to direct to have a live answer, please do put it in that Q&A module. Otherwise, just give it to Chad, Bob, and Lauren. If we go to the next slide. So the names list, when you're selecting this for your job, is the root source of all data in your job. Subjects, buyers, groups, teachers, everything, access codes, barcodes. This is where it lives in your job. Clean data here means clean data. Clean data in means clean data out here. So the more work you do upfront, the less work you'll have to do after picture day. So we provide on every QR tagging job. Oh, my apologies. On every single QR tagging with names list job, we provide a downloadable template, which you can see in the screenshot at the bottom. We have this formatted perfectly for you, so you can input the data, pop it into the job, and go forward, matching those columns. You can see our first two required fields are on the far left. There are student, subject, first name, and last name. We have to have this entry so that we can actually create an entry in the names list for the system. This is how we assign the access code and create a barcode for the subject as well. These are actually the only two required fields. All of our other fields are recommended, and they do help in a lot of different jobs. For example, we have our group column. This to me is incredibly important because it's specifically tied to lab sorting, QR card sorting in the photo management. And you can assign this group column to be your class, grade, team, depending if you're doing schools or sports. The next field would be teacher. This can be coach, director, whatever staff member or organization director you're meeting with. And then identifier, most commonly used for student IDs and yearbooks. This is also good for jersey numbers and team positions if you are doing sports. Like I said, all of this data ties to various things in the system. This is QR cards, so sorting your QR cards before picture day, before you ever go. Do you want them sorted by group? Do you want them sorted by last name? Do you want them sorted some other way? Album and file management. You can automatically create your albums using your names list. If it is set up correctly from the beginning, this just makes the process go so much faster. That way you don't have to manually create each album. Like I said, badges, if you're sending to the lab, they're using that group column to organize your subjects by their group column and make sure that they're labeled correctly per the information you put in your names list. Student data exports, which is great for yearbooks, great for student IDs. This is directly tied to your names list, to the organization of your data. And then editing services like NextGen and 36Pix, they rely on that data coming from the names list to correctly return the images back to the system. So this is an incredibly important part. And if it's done correctly up front, it's so much less work on the back end. Even if you have moments where you have to update the data, we have written resources that give you step-by-step instruction to safely and cleanly update the data, whether it's a late roster, new subjects, or you need to add buyer data, which leads me to my next slide. There we go. Thank you. And this is regarding our required and recommended fields for communications. Now, in our previous slide, we saw there was a section on the far right that allowed for buyer information to be input. Technically, the only required field for buyers is going to be your email. This is the root source of all customer profiles in the system. But I do want to point out, if you do not have a first name for your customer and you do have their email is going to become their first name. So if you randomly see a customer named Britney Spears Lover 1989, that is because they did not give you their first name. We do want to have that so you can have that connection. But when you're doing communications, newsletters, and profiles, be sure to keep that in mind in case you see some not exactly expected names. The recommended fields that follow the buyer email are going to be that first name and last name. Always, we want to have that. And then buyer phone. Now, we do work with Twilio. Once you're activated, you are able to take advantage of our SMS communications. But I do want to note here that if your buyer does not have an email in the system, you will not be able to text them. It's not possible. We have to have that email. Again, it is our only required field. But if you do not have an email, you cannot text them. So another thing to keep in mind when you're working on your jobs, especially using names list data that has that buyer data, make sure you're getting those emails as well as those phone numbers. And then to answer any questions that may come up regarding past data and potentially having issues getting timely or new data from your organization, I did want to mention, because of our ability to store that names list as a root source of data in any job, you are able to go to a previous year or previous job for that organization. You can export that names list, clean it up. I recommend putting it in our template so that it's a fresh, clean data sheet, brand new, and then you can upload it into the system again. It will not create new customer profiles, but it will create new access codes for each child. And then if you have them on picture day, you have all of their information already. And then if they are new, unexpected, or there's additional subjects, using spares and or backup QR cards and tagged barcodes, anything like that, will allow you to still intake that information with the buyer data as well. Thank you so much. I appreciate you very much. The names list, again, is incredibly important. If you do the work up front to make sure it's very, very clean, you will not have to do so much work on the back end to clean up any messes. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to go ahead and address those.
Yeah, we'll give it a minute or two just in case anyone has some questions. But Sam, what's one of the funniest names you've seen used in a names list?
I like to think that mine are pretty funny. Mostly they are random words like meep, moop, bop, boop, and beep. I enjoy those, but I do find it very amusing to find last names of my coworkers and customers in names lists where I wouldn't expect them.
Got it. I always enjoy when it's all themed around a show or something that I recognize personally.
Simpsons.
Yeah. All right. Well, it seems, yeah, everyone must be very clear. Not any questions coming in. So we'll go ahead and keep moving along here. All right. Moving into communications and best practices. Oh, okay. Looks like we have one question. Sorry, Jayla. Just a minute.
You're good.
Justin's asking if he struggles with teacher names versus groups. Sam, can you explain the difference? Or maybe we let Bob answer.
I am very happy to answer if we need to know the difference between groups and teachers. So the group column in the names list, it's meant to be sort of a catch-all. It is, in my opinion, it's much better to use group to separate by the actual groupings that you photographed. So if your groups are separated by teacher, you can absolutely include that name there, but our templated names list does include a teacher column. Now, this teacher column will not go forward to most labs. They use the group column instead. So if you're looking to sort your batches by teacher name, I recommend putting that teacher name in the group column for the lab. But if you do not need to use it that way, if you want to have the grade in the group column and then the teacher name for album sorting purposes, that is what I would recommend using both of those columns in conjunction for. This is also great for sports because you can put like 10U, 12U, 14U, and then Coach Brady, Coach Brady, Coach Brady, and you'll get 3 different albums for each of those teams.
Great. Thanks, Sam. All right. With that, we'll move right on to Jayla, who's going to talk about communications best practices.
Hi. Yeah, I'm Jayla, Customer Success Manager here at GotPhoto. Communication profile, or as they're now formally known, automatic campaigns, are very important in just engaging customers, maintaining that brand visibility, and driving the purchases. Now, how these automatic campaigns work is it's from a series of triggers. So picture day, the date is going to be very important. When you set the job to selling, oh, sorry, I was just looking at the chat. My bad. The archiving date, the coupon date, and if you do batch shipping, the batch shipping date. So everything is going to be based off of those specific triggers. And you can move on to the next slide. So the location of all of these communication profiles are going to be on your left under communications or at the end of the job under archiving. And you can grab your communication profile in the job or manage them and go directly there from the manage button. Next slide. So the potential triggers. So when you go in to make a template, you'll see all these triggers when you add a notification. And you can see that most of them have a before and after. And so it's really important to make sure that you're sending enough notifications because as we know, parents kind of just forget. They'll look at the picture when you set it to selling and then they won't remember until the archiving date. And so making sure you use all the triggers to your advantage will make sure that customers are remembering and they're ordering. So if we go to the next one, you'll see this is just like a template of how to make them. So all the bold one helps with just what the trigger is. So we always recommend having like a before the photo day notification go out if you get the names list ahead of time. And that's just to like remind customers that this is how you're going to communicate with them and get them primed. But also because I think a lot of parents just never know when picture day is or they forget. And so this is a good way to tell them what to expect come picture day. And then there's an after photo day trigger. And that's a good one if your turnaround time from picture day to setting the job to selling is longer than 10 to 14 days. That way you can still be on their mind, reminding them that the pictures are coming, to thank them for letting you photograph their kids. And if you do composites or have any backgrounds, you can give them a sneak peek on the background to just build excitement. And then you're setting the job to selling SMS. And as you see, this is a 7-day coupon. So it has all the coupons set up here and batch shipping. But if you don't do batch shipping and you don't do coupons, none of those notifications are going to send. And the only ones they're going to get are when the job is set to selling and the archiving date. So making sure that it's in a span, like let's say your archiving date is 4 to 6 weeks out, which is what we recommend, that they're getting notified almost once a week in the beginning, a couple times a week, because that's when the best deal is going to be for them. Now, if you don't use a coupon or batch shipping, you can always do after the job is set to selling and build notifications out that way to make sure your customers are reminded. Because again, they just keep forgetting. One. Time frame. So this is a big one. I think everyone expects when you hit the job to set to selling that all of the notifications are going to go at the same time. If you do that, it's going to cause spam. And so what we do is if you hit the 9 to 10 a.m. time frame, your emails are going to be sent over the course of the day from 9 to 7. And if you hit the 7 to 8, it's going to be sent over the course of the night. So just be cautious of that. We've had some instances where people get emails at 2 a.m. And this is why, because it's getting sent over the course of the night. Next slide. So in your job, you'll actually be able to see the stats. Now, I know sometimes this is hard to read, but you can see like some of the big triggers that are going to be the publish, set to selling, the coupon expires, and the archiving. And you can see how orders go up while those notifications are going out. And so this is a good way to just see like, oh, okay, my notifications are actually working because I just got 15 orders, 30 days after picture day. Next one. So one-time messages, or as we used to call them, our newsletters, they are useful tools, but they're not automated. And so there's a lot of ways to utilize them to just make sure you're convincing buyers to buy and just reminding them. So seasonal sales, there's Black Friday, New Year, et cetera, and just gives you a reason to reach out and resell your pictures. Knowing your market is important. If you're in an area where you only photograph your town or the towns next to you, and it's a Sunday and it's storming, well, everyone's inside, so why not just send a newsletter reminding people to order? If you do sports and the team homecoming's coming up or the state game, why not send a newsletter saying, hey, get your buttons, or congrats, get some pictures or some foam heads for the game. And then especially for seniors, we're doing seniors in the summer or the fall, but they don't graduate all the way until May or June. So reaching out in April and May, reminding them their pictures are still there, and giving them discounts on yard signs and wallets will help just utilize the communications and drive orders. Next slide. And then there are a ton of best practices. It really does depend on your market. But for best visibility, feel free to use our placeholders. I really like the job name one because if you do the job name accurately, the subject line will go out Hendersonville High instead of, hey, your photos are ready. So personalizing them just helps customers connect and helps them open it when everyone is getting bombarded with emails from everywhere. And then we kind of touched on it earlier, but considering the duration of your emails, make sure you're reaching out enough times to let them know the pictures are available and reminding them, but not too many where they're like, okay, well, I don't want to hear from you anymore. So just be cautious of that. But having at least one a week is always beneficial. And then we talked about the one-time message. Mark and Black Iron have done quite a few webinars on how to use Canva or Poster My Wall, but that's always a good way to make your communications more branded and better suited for you. And then ChatGPT is a good tool. Update your communications, make sure they pass spam filters, and update your wording is always a good option. But yeah, there's a ton of resources out there. This list will be sent to you, but if you guys do have any questions, I'm here to answer them. Thank you. Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Jayla.
Yeah.
We can give it a minute or so, but Jayla, thanks for mentioning the masterclass and what Black Iron has done. So I did drop that link to the masterclass in the chat. So highly encourage everyone to give it a watch. It goes through some pretty nitty-gritty stuff as well, like our Poster My Walls or the Poster My Walls kind of plugin or how to use it. So people really like that about the customizations, and it's really helped Black Iron's business quite a bit. So definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, Poster My Wall is awesome, and it lets you use the placeholders within our system. And that's kind of the downfall with Canva is you're not able to use those placeholders or not as efficiently.
Yep. Cool. All right. Well, thanks, Jayla. Moving right along. Pass it over to Terry.
Hey, everybody. I'm really glad that you're all here. I want to really put some big thanks out to Lauren and to Bob for being here for us. Without them, without customers like you, we wouldn't be here. So we really rely on your partnership and truly, truly appreciate you. I'm going to talk a little bit today about price lists and best practices. The way that we're setting up our price lists now, we need to really pay special attention because we're digital now on our price lists. So we want to be sure that we're grabbing everyone's attention. Could you go next slide, please? And this is a lot of words here, so I'm hoping that we're going to share these. There's there's some things that you could and should do when creating your price lists. Um, First of all, you want to make sure that you're offering a variety of prints, maybe gift items, and digital products that are going to be bundled all together in a package. You want to create those packages so that there is some savings to your customer in the package. So what you can do is create your a la carte list first. Look at your a la carte pricing and make sure that that's in line with the market and that you're making the money per print that you need to be there, and then start building your package prices. Um, and your package prices should show some discounts. So all items in the package need to be from the same lab. You can put items from different labs in your a la carte list, but one thing that you should really keep in mind if you're going to do that is that the package is going to be shipped separately from the a la carte item. So I don't recommend doing that, but you can do it. And if you have your own production where you're self-fulfilling some items, you can combine those in packages and on your a la carte lists. When building your price list, we recommend somewhere between 3 and 5 packages. That way your customers don't get overwhelmed when they're looking at your price list. Just keeps it nice and clean and easy for them to choose. Um, Ideally, only prints in your packages. This gives you the opportunity to upsell downloads, and it also gives you the opportunity to bring up that package sale with the addition of a la carte items like magnets or buttons, or depending the market that you're in, you can have those on your a la carte list. You'll want to also make sure that your packages really make sense from a pricing and value standpoint. So we recommend listing your packages from highest to lowest in the shop, because you've always got that customer that they're going to see that high price package. Doesn't make any difference what else you're offering. They're going to buy the biggest one. If you don't offer it, they're not going to buy it. And the other thing that we're finding, this is really a big deal anymore. Get away from package A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. Emotionally charge those package names. You want to really pull the customer into the package before they even know what's in it, just by that package name. Can we go to the next slide, please? So the first thing that you need to do before you even start building your packages is make sure that you selected and registered with a partner lab. Um, you'll do that via the the products and prices tab, and then you can select your lab and register. All your public labs are going to be available there for you. Um, so just go register. They'll set up an account for you, give you your account number, and then you can start using their products. And next slide. Once you set up your lab, then you can start creating your product packages. Again, this is going to be done from the products and prices tab. And to create a product package, you would go to the product package tab and just simply click on create product package. Next tab. All right, again, name your packages that are something that are really emotionally charged. ChatGPT is an amazing source for that. For example, if you're doing a preschool, you packages that are called something like tiny treasures, memory makers, growing smiles, little things like that that people go, oh, I want to buy that package. So name your package something emotionally charged. And when we start building the package, you're just going to click on settings. And I love it, Bob. I love it. Um, Click on settings and set up an internal job name. Now, the internal job name is really a tool for you. Your customer is not going to see that internal job name. But if you're using the same package names in your schools that you're using in your preschools, that you're using on your dance, if all of those packages are named the same thing, you want to be sure if you're going to set different prices on them that you can identify them when you start adding them to your price profiles. Bench warmers for sports. Love it, Lauren. Um, all right. You want to in your package settings, you can limit the number of subjects that you've got that are going to be able to purchase from that package. So the number of access codes that can fill that package. You can upload a package image that describes what your package is, something simple like a badge that says value or heirloom or something like that. And you can add additional descriptions to your product packages that will, when the customer clicks on it, they're going to get a little more information. So once you've selected your items, you can add them to your product packages and click back to product packages. Now let's go to the next screen. And this is where you are actually going to set the quantities in all of your packages. So now that you've added the prints to the packages, you're going to say how many prints go into each one of them. And then you're also going to specify what type of product or what type of image that is. So there's individual images, there's group images, and there's composite type images. Composite type image would be something like a memory mate, or if you were building a montage or something like that in Pixnub, you can actually tag those as composite type, and that will restrict the image that the customer can select when they're in the shop to fill that package item. And the next slide. Once you've created all of your packages, you're going to stay in that same products and prices tab, and you're going to jump into price lists and just click on create a price profile and the next tab. And now you can actually start adding your a la carte items. You can either do this before you set up your packages or you could do it after. I generally have an idea in my mind as to what I'm going to do with my a la carte items and how I'm going to price them. So I don't add them to the price list until after the fact, but I use them when I'm creating my product packages so that I know how to price them. Um, what we find is that GotPhoto photographers tend to hit the revenue sweet spot when offering a mix of traditional prints and novelty items. So make sure that you've really got a good combination of items there without adding so many that it's overwhelming to your customer. And the next slide, please. Okay, there's a few things in building packages with your lab products that a lot of people are not even aware of. Um, Sometimes you have an 8x10, but you don't see, you want to offer a memory mate, but you don't see a memory mate in the lab products. And that's because at this point, GotPhoto doesn't really have a memory mate product in the system. You can create your own you can use them through NextGen. You can create your own with QMate, things like that. But if you want your customer to see it as a memory mate, there are items in most lab products that they call placeholders, and you can use those placeholders and actually rename them so that your customer sees 8x10 memory mate. When you select those placeholders for use in your price list or your price profile, your a la carte list, you just select the item that is appropriate to the size of product that you're going to create. So if you're doing an 8x10 memory mate, you want to grab an 8x10 placeholder, you click on the details next to that item and just rename it to describe the product, which is going to be the first field that you'll see, and then the size, which is the second field that you're going to see there. If you're going to rename lab products, and you can rename them because a lot of people will see things like luster 8x10. And what does that mean to your end customer? Nobody knows what luster paper is versus glossy paper versus e-surface paper. They just don't know what the difference is. So a lot of people will want to rename those. If you're going to rename them, be very, very careful. Always redo it from the lab products list and never from the product package or the price list, because if you make a change to an item, it is going to change it across the board. So every product package that has that item in it, every a la carte item that has that item in it is going to be changed on all price lists. So be very careful. Make sure that you're renaming products from the product tab to just ensure that you're not making changes to things you don't want to change. And let's go to the next one. Okay, in the a la carte section, you can offer single items from multiple types of images and price them differently. And this is something that has recently been changed in our price list. So if you offer an 8x10 individual and an 8x10 memory mate and an 8x10 group, you have the option in your price list of actually selecting different categories for that individual, composite, group, and putting a different price on each one of them. In your download all, you want to make sure that you're pricing based on the typical number of images that you're capturing. So that should reflect, somewhere between 30 and 40% off of your individual download price per image for the total cost. And when you're doing a download all, don't forget to upsell prints, because that can bring in your download all is almost pure profit. The only thing that you've got is a service fee and the fee from Stripe. You've got no lab costs and you've got no shipping costs. But if you add prints to it, people might go into that download all, get the download all, and then just add a few prints. You've got more profit on that way. And the next slide. Green screen options are another thing that you're going to probably want to use if you want to offer multiple backgrounds. Green screen are actually associated to your price list. And really, really easy to use. If you go into your products and prices and into your backgrounds or my backgrounds, you'll actually see some default backgrounds that are available there for you to use. But you can also upload your own backgrounds and offer them. And make sure that they're at least 2400 by 3000 pixels, so which is 8x10. And need to be in sRGB color space. At this point, if you try to upload anything outside of sRGB, you're going to get an error message. So to add your backgrounds, you just click on that manage my backgrounds. Let's go to the next slide. And once you've added your backgrounds, you could actually go into your price list and add those backgrounds to your price list. When you're adding your backgrounds or uploading your backgrounds, you're going to see two sections. You're going to see premium and you're going to see standard. This allows you to offer backgrounds that you want to charge a little bit for, maybe. So you would have a section of backgrounds that was free for the customer to add, and could also have a section of premium backgrounds where you may want to charge, $2 or $3. It's just easy money for you to make. I think you need to be careful as to how much you do that because I think people are starting to get pretty smart. They know that a background is just a background. So, but a lot of people for the really premium backgrounds will add an additional charge. You can also set a default background in your price list. And this is the background that everybody is going to see in the shop. The first thing that they see is their image on your default background, and then they're given the option in order to select a different background if they want one. And on to the next. You can set how you want your price list to handle orders also by setting mandatory package purchases or minimum order values. Mandatory package purchase is going to force people to buy a package before they can buy an a la carte item. This way you can price your a la carte items lower. Um, the other thing that you can do if you don't want to force people to buy a package first is just place a minimum order value on that package. So if you want to make sure that you're making at least $20 off of everybody that comes into that shop, you can just place a minimum order value of $20 on that price list. And then you can apply it per access. And I wish I could zoom in here a little bit. My old eyes aren't seeing this. You can apply per subject. Sam, you can jump in behind me if you want. You got better eyes than I do. When you apply per subject, that means when they're ordering, that every subject that they're ordering for has to meet that $20 minimum.
That's correct. If you apply the per subject in conjunction with packages mandatory or minimum order value, yes, it will apply per access code. So if my parent has 3 access codes to purchase from, minimum order value is 20. Minimum order value for the whole order is going to be 60 for all 3 subjects.
Thanks, Sam. And on to the next slide. And I've kind of used up most of my time here. I don't want to take up too much. So this is just kind of examples on the placeholders as to what you can do with renaming those placeholders and how they can be used. The box on the left-hand side is going to be how that placeholder was originally set up. It's how you see it in the lab product list. And on the right-hand side, you can see how that product was renamed so that it can be displayed to your customer as you want them to display it. And the next slide, please. And again, can't stress this enough that changes made to product packages are universal also. So if you are in a price list and you go into your Tiny Treasures package, and that Tiny Treasures package is used in a different price list, if you take 2 3x5s out of that Tiny Treasures price list for your preschool, for preschool A, it's going to take it out of that price list for, it's going to take the 3x5s out of that package for every price list that uses that Tiny Treasures package. So be very careful. Don't make any changes again on your product packages. Don't take anything out of them unless you want it to happen all the way across the board. Also, don't remove items from those packages if the job is live, set to sell, have orders that haven't processed because it's going to break those orders for you. We always recommend make a copy of that price list and or product package, make your changes there, and then apply the new price list to any jobs moving forward. And the next slide. All sorts of resources available out there for you. Feel free to jump in. Our knowledge team has done an amazing job, and the chatbot can answer so many questions for you now, too. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah, Terry, we have one coming in. Anthony's wondering if there's a way to see the picture the parent might choose for the banner.
I'm not sure I'm understanding the question, Anthony.
Anthony, maybe you can put a little bit in the chat and we can try to answer that. Well, any other questions coming in for Terry or any of our wonderful panelists? Let's see, can parents select their favorite image?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Depends on, yes, they can. If you're doing banners, you can either create products if you're using NextGen, it can create those banner products for you. If you're using QMate, it can create those products for you. And you can actually do them for all images that are there. If you want a parent to select a pose for a banner, what I would recommend doing is creating like a placeholder product where they can see that product as a sample and then select the image that's going to fill it. And in that case, what you would want to do is set that to manual revision. Yeah, that's kind of so what you would do in a case like that, Anthony, if you have 5 poses that the parent has to choose from to fill the banner product, again, I would create a placeholder image or a placeholder product that has no image in it that they can see, that they can actually choose a pose. Yes. That's a really good suggestion, Bob. Bob says that you can also turn on the ability for the parent to select their favorite image, and then you can export that list so that you know which pose they have selected for that banner.
Awesome. Cool.
Thanks for the link.
Similar to yearbook selections, Terry?
Honestly, I don't know. Sam, do you know the answer to that? Does the favorite image go into the same data that the yearbook image does?
My apologies. My computer just quit on me, so I just had to pop back into the meeting. The favorite photo option set from the job settings, it can be fed into the student data export for yearbook selection specifically, but it's not tied to that necessarily. You can set it as a generic favorite photo selection, and then using a custom job description, you can say, choose your favorite photo for your banner, and that'll be available on the first page of the job. But favorite photo, it's going to feed into a student data export, very similarly to yearbook photos, but you can export the information and use it instead for banners.
Great. Thanks, Sam. And Justin, yes, definitely can restrict images if you're on that favorite photo. If you look in your job setting, there's actually a setting where you're allowing them to select those images for yearbook or favorite photos, but you can restrict them. And you do that by whatever photo editing tool you're using, whether it's Lightroom or whatever you're using, you can 5-star those images. And those are the only images that they'll be able to see when they make that selection. And Bob put a link in there for you too.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Terry, for sharing all of your knowledge and wisdom. I know Nicole has a little bit more to take us through the end. And of course, everyone, please feel free to keep putting those questions both in Q&A and in the chat, and we'll get them answered.
Thank you.
Hello again. So before we close and wrap, wanted to take a moment to just highly recommend testing before picture day, whether you're newer to GotPhoto or you're trying out something new, which definitely recommend things like end tagged or spot my photos or next gen. We just want to make sure the experience is as smooth as possible for you. and the customer care team is here to help you along the way. And it's much more straightforward and simple for us to provide that help and get you off on the right foot. If you call us before picture day, where if you run into a snag, need some extra help, can't quite figure something out, we would love to help and support and talk to you about it. It's just a bit easier to do that ahead of time rather than untangling something after picture day has already happened. So if you're trying something new, if you haven't been in the system for a while, maybe you only shoot once a year in the fall, please just get in there, practice, do some tests, and give us a call or send us in a ticket if you need some help.
But thank you all for joining us today. We really appreciate it, and have the best kickoff to the season ever.